In this video, I'm going to be going over the whole journey I had, making a fountain come out of my stone walls and the trials and tribulations that went with that. So this is a leftover irrigation line, and I just had this thought after watching the Chelsea exhibition of Gardener's World and seeing one of the gardens, I forgot the name, had basically a water feature coming out of the stone wall. And I said to myself, oh my God, I need that. So this is an afterthought, and I'm probably not doing things correctly, but I thought I would document it. I have this extra irrigation line. It's usually used underground to bring water underground. I don't have any copper pipes, nor do I have the research to see if copper pipes are great for this kind of thing, because if they burst, they're bursting in the wall and it might be a mess. So this might be a better solution in general, but not an expert, please don't judge. So my water feature idea is going to be, the water's going to come out through that part right here, or come in rather. So come in and then go all the way up this future wall that's not existing, but will in the future, then pour out into this tub, which I'm going to bring over. And then the water is going to come out from the tub and be pumped up into the wall. So hopefully this will all work out and it will look beautiful. So I'm just going to do masonry around this pipe and hope for the best. So I have this fountain balancing on the stones right here. I'm just going to test to see how I want the water to work. The water, again, is going to go through here and up here. So before I lock everything into place and cement it, I'm just going to put the hose in to see how it works. It might drop because it's not in place, but I just want to see how it will work from the pump. So here we go. That one fits. I'm very much relieved that the irrigation line is clear and I can now cement in the fountain. The actual fountain spout I chose is a piece of marble pedestal. I'm hoping to in the future maybe carve it and make it a little bit more interesting. But for now, it's kind of interesting looking. Being marble, it has an elegance to it. I first have to make a secure foundation for the marble pedestal slash soon to be spout, and then I'm going to have to put the pipe through it and then place more stone on top. One thing that has changed with this project is I decided to not go with the tub. I felt that the tub might be a little too kitsch and busy with all the other features going on. Right next to the moon window and the moon gate and the plants cascading down, I just felt it might be a little too busy. Instead, I chose to go with a dry fountain, meaning a fountain that doesn't have a pool to it. So basically the water is going to come out from the wall and it's going to sprinkle down into a bed of rocks and then get filtered down into where the pump is. The pump's going to be circulating it over, so you won't actually see water. This is a much safer water feature because I do have kids under the age of 4, so they could easily drown in pools of water. So I want to minimize that around the property. So a dry water feature that doesn't have a pool or visible water except for the sprinkling of the water coming out of the spout is really ideal. One of the things about this project that was tricky, specifically about the spout insulation, was the placement of the spout, making sure that I didn't want it to be too far out or not far enough, or leaning too down or too straight. I really wanted the water to hit where I'm going to place the pool, so I didn't want it to go into the walkway or be an issue with going into the wall, causing leakage and not being effective. So the placement of the spout was difficult because I didn't want to mess it up in that way. Once the spout was in place, I needed to do a test run with the actual pump I wanted to use. I filled a bucket with water, kept the hose running, and turned on the pump. Unfortunately, this pump that I chose was way too powerful for the application. Water was going into the path and everywhere else, and I really needed a much weaker, more manageable pump, which wasn't great. I ordered a much weaker pump on Amazon. There wasn't too many options, and it was kind of difficult to navigate the strength of a pump. I'm sure there was a way of doing it. I'm just not educated in that. If you know anything about what pumps to order for what strength pumpage, welcome to leave a comment and educate me. But for me, it was a little difficult to navigate. So I ordered what seemed to be a pump in the $20 range as opposed to $90 range. In the meantime, I took this basin, and it was kind of just the dump. It was a strong plastic basin, and I decided to Sawzall the top of it, so when the water trickled down, it would go into this basin, and I would have a secret pipe and leading to the pump on the bottom to spray out. Then had to dig a hole the same size as the basin right in front of the spout. I decided to dig the hole so it was leaning, so the basin would be leaning against the wall, just in case the strength of the water wasn't really pushing out, so there wouldn't be so much loss in water. Of digging out and then putting the basin in to see how it fit, and then digging it out again. Once I knew where the basin was going and that was all settled, I had to do the actual attaching from the irrigation pipe that was in the wall and not going anywhere to the fountain pump that I bought, which was a lot smaller than the irrigation pipe. So I had to go to Home Depot and get a number of fittings and soften the PVC by melting it with a torch and then shoving in the fittings. It was surprisingly watertight and worked, but it took a little bit of wiggling and figuring it out and a couple runs to Home Depot. I decided to use a black pond liner that I had floating around my property for a couple of reasons. One, in case there was a little crack in the basin I had, it would not be such a big deal. It would be an added level of protection. Also, it was black, so it wasn't so stark white. And I could also lift up the flaps to increase the size of the dry pond to make sure water doesn't go into the garden as much. I attached the pipe and it didn't do so well. It was going right into the wall. It trickled down into the wall and to the back of the basin actually, which was kind of a problem. I solved this problem by going to Home Depot and making the spout smaller and come out a little bit more. I added, I went from plastic fitting to the fit into the irrigation to a screw-on and did a bunch of metal. I felt that I needed to go back to Home Depot and get maybe a smaller spout to go into the metal and longer, so it just goes a little bit further. This whole project was very tricky because I didn't want it to go too far into the patio and away from the basin, or not far enough and just trickle onto the stone and under the basin. So it was difficult finding that. There seems to be a whole science that I don't know where to start with or completely understand with water going through pipes and pressure. So the pump is collecting the water and building up the pressure in the pipe, and if there isn't enough pressure, then the water just trickles down, or if there's too much, it goes too far out. It's sort of like when you use your fingers to minimize the hole in a hose and the water goes further. So essentially the pump was too weak for the size pipe I had, and to help with that I needed to get smaller and smaller spouts at the end, and that really did help the problem. Now that I had a decent trickle and it was going into where I wanted it, into the basin, I needed to get rocks, and I decided to collect interesting rocks, of course. So I got a bunch of slag and really built up around the fountain, putting the slag.
So, I don't know if you could see, but I put some of the more bland rocks in the bottom. They won't be showing. And these beautiful covered rock, what's called slag. They're going to be covering other rocks. And I pulled up the liner, so all the soil will be over here. And then there'll be sort of a pile of rocks. And I did that because, as you can see, it's kind of splashing up. And I don't want too much water to be wasted, so when it splashes up in certain spots, the water will just come back down into the pool. So that it won't, on a hot summer day, it won't dry up and splash everywhere, especially in the back. So it's gonna come up in the back, so to just decrease that splashing that it seems to want to be doing. So I've come to the conclusion I need like 20 more rocks than I thought I did, so it's just going to be a lot of rock runs, but that's it so far. So, and I did some planting on the side. I don't know what to plant in front of the moon window yet because I don't want to block it. I want something, I don't know, I haven't figured it out, but here's I think this is called a 7 sun plant. Actually, here it is right here. 7 sun flower, and has these really delicate white flowers that smell really lovely. And next to that, on the other side, is going to be a mock orange. I'm going to have to trim it so it's not going in front of the moon window. I think I planted the rest of these guys maybe a little bit close, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty cool.
Thank you for watching this video, and please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy.